Hey everybody, welcome back to Trekyards. As always, I'm Captain Foley.
As always, I'm Commander Cockings and a new face. Introduce yourself.
I am Josh Irwin. I'm one of the executive producers and writer-directors for Avalon Universe series of fan films.
I feel like I've met you before, but Stuart hasn't. Stuart, have you heard of the Avalon universe? It's Star Trek, but not as you know it. Jazz hands.
I have. I've watched them all, and I feel like I know him. He is a Commodore. It is nice to finally meet you, Josh. I really like the work you guys have been doing. It's a great universe to play in, and it's kind of a reimagined universe, which I really like. So I guess that's probably my first question for you about this universe. It's got some different elements to it, different looking L-cars, visuals, uniforms. So first off, let's talk a little about that. What's up with your universe?
It goes back to just kind of my personality, even going back to just being an indie filmmaker back in, before I was doing fan films. One of the things I always said was, I'm never going to make a zombie movie because everybody was making zombie movies. And so like whatever people were doing, I had to do something different because that's just how I am. If someone was already doing it, why would I do it?
Do it better. Do it better. That's the answer.
But then when I come into Star Trek fan films, what am I going to do? I'm going to make a zombie fan film because no one's ever done that. So I kind of reverse course on that for a reason because, okay, people haven't done that. So let's give that a try. But really the motivation behind having a new universe is creative freedom. And that's something that I've always valued in every aspect of my career is creative freedom. And what an alternate universe gives you is the opportunity to have creative freedom without violating the larger Star Trek canon. And that's, a lot of Star Trek fans like to do that. We get into Star Trek because of imagination, because that's what Star Trek is. It's not just exploring strange new worlds in space, it's exploring imagination. And this is what Star Trek is about. And is exploring new worlds, and so we're finding a way to explore our own new world in essence.
Although, that said, all the different this is all just a niche within a niche. Star Trek, fan-produced content. This is obviously slightly more professional because, we have slightly more skills than the average Joe. But one thing that all the fan films do, they either try and be super faithful, like, Star Trek Continues, which is, it is the 60s. Or you have sort of the TNG era ones that are trying to be close, but the technological abilities at the time didn't allow for that close a thing. We have things like Renegades, where it was trying to be its own thing and unique. And for me, as a fan, I'm watching a Star Trek fan film to watch Star Trek. Mm-hmm. So the further you get away from that, you're losing the thing I'm there to watch. So the fact that this Avalon universe, it's still grounded in what is Star Trek. You're not going to think, wow, the Borg are in it. They didn't happen for 200 years. Like, there's nothing that radical, but it's the freedom to do cool things, as long as there's a little bit of thought explanation behind it, and that excites me.
It has to make sense.
Yeah.
You're talking about that there are a lot of really great fan films that do TOS well, and we could list off a whole bunch of them, everything from Phase 2 and Continues to Federation Files to Farragut or whatever, and they do recreate TOS, the feel, the music, the costumes, whatever. They do a great job of that, and I love those films. I'm addicted to that stuff. I've watched all of it. They've already done that, and so it's like I'm not going to do that. I leave that to the people who want to do it that way. I'm going to do my own thing, and I'm going to tell my own stories.
Well, I have a question for Stuart, because he's such a hardcore TOS fanboy in the best possible way. If you had two producers in front of you, fan film producers, and they each had $500,000, and one said, I'm going to recreate the 60s feel like Continues but slightly bigger budget, and one said, I'm going to take TOS, the sets, and then walk in but film it like a modern motion picture. As a fan of clearly the TOS, if you had this choice, which would you rather see for a more modern for production that is being produced right now?
I'd want to see the more modern, updated version. Widescreen, enhancing the sets a little bit, but keeping that visual feel. Growing up as a kid, watching TOS, I always complained and said to my brothers, this would be better if it had modern special effects. And they were like, it was said in Starlog and stuff that they're never going to do that. Wasn't practical. It would be too much per episode to do that. And then Trials and Tribulations came along, and they found out that it's actually quite reasonable to do that. So it got remastered with new visual effects. That's fantastic. Now, if we could just upgrade the lighting and not have the cast shadows and the Vaseline on the lens, again, that would be great. Just to upgrade it to a modern feel. So, yes, modern is the way to go.
I've given a lot of thought to this sort of thing, and you go all the way back to TOS, and what they did so well was approach the scientific concepts, whatever that scientific concept is. Oh, we go to this planet and these race of people have these developed brains and they can hypnotize you. Or we're going to explore the concept of a parallel universe or a giant space amoeba, whatever it is. It was just about science. And it was about storytelling. You have these three characters, and one guy is emotion, one guy is logic, and then one character is the merging of the two. They did story and concept and imagination in just the rawest form, and it was so fun. And but then you look at it today, and it's like, oh man, I can tell that that's foam, or I can tell that that's cardboard, or that kind of thing is funny, but it's endearing. And then you come to today with Discovery, and the production value is so huge. The cinematography is gorgeous, and the sets are beautiful, and there's all this like spectacle to it, and the storytelling is just gone. It's just like what that, and to me, that's what bothers me is just the storytelling aspect of it. And I think that the reason that the Rick Berman era is so beloved is because it strikes this balance where you have better visual effects and better sets and better lighting and all of this, but you still have characters moments, and you still have story, and you still have science. It's not one side of the scale. And so one thing that I want to try and accomplish with what we're doing is maybe trying to find that balance too. It's hard. Telling a good story is not easy, even though that's the most important part of it. We've got everything that people love about TOS. You've got things that people love about TNG, and you've got modern technology doing some modern things, but not so radical of a departure.
So speaking of Klingons and battles, one thing we had is a perfect transition. So demons is what we're talking about today specifically. Now we talk about the universe. But the team are currently Indiegogoing, which is crowdfunding for their next, most ambitious, biggest, everything in project. We had Ghost Ship. We'll talk about these at a later date, guys. But Ghost Ship was kind of what do we have that we can go use? Make a story. Avalon Lost. We tell this story in a nice, different way. Boom. Demons is this is the story. This is the scope. Need to raise some funds. But we do have Klingons. We'll talk about that in a second. Why bring Klingons? And we do have new Klingon ships.
Yeah.
Which is cool. So talk about why Klingons and why did you give me the approval, the budget to invent new ships?
Well, a couple of reasons. With regards to Klingons, you see a lot of Romulans in fan films, and Klingons are few and far between, and if they're done, it's hard to do them well. Klingons are harder to do than Romulans, so it's like the challenge of it. But I think one of the reasons we decided to do Klingons is because it was a Trekyards episode, actually, where you guys were talking about the D7 and how they were going to have a real D7 on Discovery, and then Sam went nuts pulling out some D7 models and going, let's light this up and let's do some cool stuff. And man, wouldn't it be cool if we had a new D7? And I was just like, well, then build one, build a cool custom D7, and we'll find an excuse to have a space battle with one.
Yeah. Build it and they will watch.
And that's really how it happened. And then, on the other side of it, Victoria, who's my other producer, she is, as involved as I am. She couldn't be here today, but her emphasis is on the acting and the character of it all. You know, I'm the guy who's more into the overall universe and the Star Trek, and she's the person that's about the characters and the connection and the people and the moments and the acting and the story and the tugging at heartstrings and all that kind of stuff. And so what she wanted was a very character-driven thing where we really get to know who these characters are and what motivates them and why they are feeling the way they are, what's happened in their lives, where they go, where they come from, where they're going. You have to connect with the character to be able to care about them. You know, I remember back when I was in film school, my 35 millimeter course director Rob Toscani was looking at some footage of some stuff we'd shot, and he was like looking at the main character going, I don't give a rip about this guy. If the audience doesn't care about the people on screen, they're not going to invest in watching it. And so what she really wanted to do is make some characters that in 15 minutes you can invest in. Well, that's hard, but challenge accepted. And then, you know, I had the Star Trek element of let's fight some Klingons. And so we've, you know, kind of merged what we're doing together and brought it together, fighting Klingons, Star Trek coolness, characters, and drama. And so as a team, we're trying to bring that together. And hopefully it's working out pretty well. We each have things we want to bring to it. She has acting things that she wants to do, and I have martial arts things that I want to have people do. And, you know, so it's whatever we want to take the creativity of, we want to do this, we want to do that, and just, you know, find a way to bring it all together. So,
and then you happen to have met me, and we talked about how the Avalon universe is its own thing. And so I remember saying to you, why use any old designs? You know, if we have the time, and this is meant to be something else. I mean, if there's a bird of prey, if there's a raptor, if there's a Vorcha pre-ship, why not design something that fits into where it is? But beyond that, helps to maybe fix TOS. I mean, TOS, as we said previously, is a bubble of tech. You know, they did not have anything before or after. You had the Connie, the Romulan bird of prey, the Tholian and the Klingon, but each of them were, that's it. Enterprise then tried to make prequel ships, which obviously link connectively, and TNG evolved things. But the stuff in TOS doesn't connect to anything. Why would it? It couldn't. It shouldn't. Like, there's no reason. But what if we are trying to connect everything so that you look at this, you know, enhanced TOS here and say, that's a Klingon ship, and that's a enhanced. That's a you know, all these things. I think it just fleshes out the world. And so why not have a new bird of prey that you know isn't a 12-person scout ship, and we're expected to feel like it can beat no, it can't beat a Connie.
I mean, the answer to that, of course, is obvious. It goes back to, like, you look at the first season of TNG, and they have an episode where the Enterprise D docks at a space talk type Starbase 74, and before they made the episode, Michael Okuda was telling Bob Justman, like, Enterprise D couldn't fit in one of those. It's too big. He came up with this apparatus where the Galaxy class would dock on the outside, and they didn't want to build that. They just wanted to port the shot from Star Trek 3. And Michael Okuda's like, it's too big to fit in the mushroom. And Bob Justman goes, it's a bigger mushroom.
Yeah.
Problem solved, you know. And
it's a huge starbase.
It's the same thing with Bird of Prey. It's like, oh, it's a bigger one. And so, you know, that's a budget thing, but it's like, that's how we're taking advantage of the fact that technology has changed and things are so much easier these days. We're not dealing with something that we have to go build and film and process, and it costs $1 million.
Well, and you have the advantage of working with me. We've got the Trekyards team that we're all doing it for the fan, and yes, it costs to build a 3D model, but with genuinely massive Trek fans, it'll do it for absurdly low cost with absurdly high standard, and we all win. That's the great thing about working in this community with those that try and produce things. It's like, we can have some real win-win, and then to get to see a new Bird of Prey, a new D7, it just adds so much texture to the world. And once you've got them, you might as well use them again. You can just throw them in places, and you can kit bash elements. Or do you want a 3 nacelle dreadnought Klingon ship for a side? Just sure. It adds all these cool things rather than just saying, here's a D7, and then your brain says, okay, it's a D7. But you add this real texture to the universe, and hopefully going forward we won't use any of the same designs, which is kind of exciting.
I think that if if you're going to ask somebody to work on your project, they need to walk away with something more than just exposure or whatever. If I'm going to engage in something, even the things that I do for pay, I sort of have to be invested in it emotionally to really be creative and to really do good work. And so I feel like if you're going to ask people to work on your project, they need to get something out of it that they want a little bit. For Victoria, that's acting and directing actors. That's having a chance to develop a character from the ground up. For someone like you, Sam, I was looking at that one episode, seeing how much you were getting a thrill out of playing around with the D7 and wanting to make a new one. I was like, well, then let's just make a new one. And for me, it's stuff like creating a whole new universe. And so if you're going to invest in a project, you should at least be doing something you want to do. Last week, we were working on the posters, and we took some photos. My friend Marcia took photos of our cast and their costumes, and her husband Earl is a big Photoshop guru, and he wanted to make the posters. And we were making changes to the poster like all day one day, going, let's tweak this, let's tweak that. And I apologized to him at the end of the day, and I was like, oh, I'm sorry, we were so rough on making all these changes and constantly messing around with it. And he's like, dude, I've been doing shots of shampoo bottles for weeks, this is an opportunity to do something I wanted to do. And so he was grateful just to do something truly creative. And that's the point of a fan project, is to be creative. So I feel like everyone who invests their time and their talent in it should walk away with something and go, look at this cool thing I did, man. I had a lot of fun doing that.
Which is why the Indiegogo is so important, because the funds allow the increased scale, scope. It's not just, what have we got in 3D library? We've got this D7, this Bird of Prey, this Connie, go. It's, let's do something really cool, but that does take real world dollars. But if you donate the dollars, then you get these cool new things. I mean, we've got ambitions to someday in the Avalon universe have a custom phaser, have a custom, communicator. Why not? Just the single, you then invent a short where they have to do target practice, and you get this great character moment between characters, you get to have close-ups, and you can have so many cool bits of Star Trek with these cool ideas. Once you've got a Bird of Prey, you can have just a shot of it being whatever. There's always plans and thoughts, and it's like, if you want to see cool things with ambition and people that want to put time and effort in. God knows how many hours I've put into the D7 so far, iterating, talking about it with my modeler. Excessive.
And me.
Yeah, well, I've showed you. Yeah.
Well, for example, we talk about designing new LCARs and displays. We've got we're shooting all of our bridge scenes with Glenn Wolfe of Federation Files over in Dan Reynolds. We're doing it over at Warp 66 Studios, which is their facility. Mm-hmm. And we're shooting a lot of our bridge and stuff there because it's like an hour and a half away from where I am right now. So it's so much easier to get over there. So if we spend 3 days shooting bridge stuff there, that makes when we go to Georgia to shoot on the bigger set so much easier. We can be more efficient with that time. But for example, we're buying elements and screens and things of that nature to install on that set. So that we can do these updated displays, and we have to pay for those screens. Mm-hmm. I'm going to print up a lot of new plexis to put the ones that are still displays that we just put behind a piece of glass. I have to print that up. Every uniform that a character wears has to be purchased or tailored or something. And so, yeah, we may not be paying actors and people for things like, because of the guidelines, but there are things that we still have to pay for.
A plane ticket is still a plane ticket.
A plane ticket is still a plane ticket. For 3D printing a phaser has a cost. Using rendering time on someone's computer has to be paid for. And so it's like, you have to pay for gas, you have to pay for electricity, you have to pay for those kinds of things. And so, yeah, every bit that we get helps us increase the scope. That's another phaser that can be 3D printed, or another uniform that can be purchased. Or we want to create, for example, away team or landing party type uniforms that are different than what you see when they're just on the ship. Like when they beam down and they're on an away mission, we want them wearing something slightly different. Maybe like a tactical vest or a utility belt, or, maybe we want to put the girls in pants when they're on dangerous terrain instead of a miniskirt. We have to have materials for those types of things. And so that's where the money comes into play.
All right, Joshua, so let's just end this out by telling the fans out there why they should be excited for Demons, what they can look forward to, why they might want to contribute via the Indiegogo and help you guys out with this project, because it's something I'm looking forward to, but they might not know about it. So give us the outline.
And it isn't just, a universe, it's a story. I always want to know what the story is of a fan film, because if I don't care about the story, I'm not going to care about watching it. Doesn't matter how cool the effects are or the acting is. You know what I mean? So yeah, go for it.
Demons is just, we're hoping that it will be quintessential Star Trek, that it will be about characters that are faced with external, existential, scientific, and space exploration issues that will help them explore their own internal issues and work out their own personal obstacles. They will become better people because they overcome the issues the interesting and scientific issues that they're faced with in the episode. It's going to have humor. It's going to have space exploration. It's going to have new ships. It's going to have Klingons. It's going to have everything Star Trek you love. There's going to be Easter eggs. We're going to have characters that are going on a purely Star Trek mission to solve a Star Trek problem with Star Trek aliens, and they're going to become better people on the other side of it because they did it. There's going to be space battles. There's going to be ground battles. There's going to be martial arts. There's going to be alien chambers, Indiana Jones. It's not going to be fighting space zombies. I know that was hit or miss. That's fine. But it's going to be more quintessentially Star Trek, and we have people that are emotionally invested in doing it. Good actors that want to give better performances every time the camera gets turned on. And so we want to bring you a better fan film every time we make one. I feel like we've done that with Avalon Lost, that it was a better fan film in some ways than Ghost Ship. We really want to take a big step forward with Demons and make a high-quality fan film that people will like. It doesn't have to have $1 million, and it doesn't have to have Jeffrey Combs or Tony Todd or half the cast of Deep Space Nine in it to be good. We can, we have guidelines, and yes, and I think they're fine. They're a creative challenge. You can still do it well, and that's what we want, is to make a good fan film that fans like, fan adventure by fans for fans, the kind of stuff you want to see.
That's a pretty good pitch, pretty good reason for people to go check it out. I mean, I'm excited to see it. I've watched all your other work, and I'm just excited for more. So, plus Samuel's visuals, I have to throw that in there because
you can't go wrong. You just can't.
I do try.
I think that Sam's work is as good as anyone else's. Any fan film that's ever been put out, I would challenge any. I know there's some big names out there. I think the work that he does is every bit as good. I really, really enjoyed Temporal Anomaly. I thought that the stuff in that was fantastic, that the visual effects there were amazing, great sets and great ships. And so we're very privileged to have him be a part of this. And I feel like his work is, when I first talked to him, I said, I watched a Voyager fan film that he had done work for, and I was like, man, Voyager looked better in the fan film than it did on Voyager.
Yeah.
And so, we have an opportunity to do the things we've always wanted to do. When I was a kid and I first picked up a camera, I was like, man, I want to do transporters, and I want to do spaceships, and I want to do phaser effects, and I want to do sound effects. We can do all of that now. How cool is that? So let's do it. Why not? You only live once.
And with new D7s, new Birds of Prey, and maybe even an appearance by Stuart,
Yes.
Who knows?
Yeah.
Who knows? So support Demons to get Stuart in a fan film as a Starfleet officer, because he's not in mine as a Starfleet officer, he's
No.
something else.
Yeah.
So I don't want to make him a captain, that'd be too easy.
So not nice. All right, guys. Well, thank you, Joshua, for joining us and talking about the project. As I said, I'm excited. I hope everyone else out there is as well. So check it out on Indiegogo.
I am.
And, well, of course you are. And be sure to support the project or check it out when it is available. And look forward to more stuff from them in the future for sure.
Yeah, this is definitely one of the most unique of 2019s, and I've worked on a lot of ones already in 2019, and this is in its own, I'm not saying a league, but it's in its own universe with its own ambition, and it should definitely be respected. And if you guys get past the stretch goals, there's more to come, which means that, reusing props, assets, ships, it'll all be used again. So help us get there in the first campaign, and then the other campaigns will be easier and do more, and it'll expand if you allow it, and if you help it. It's definitely worth it, because I've seen the script, I've seen the space battles, and I'm helping that stuff, and it's like, yep, it's gonna look some cool stuff.
All right. Well, thank you, Joshua, for joining us. And
Thanks for
look
having
forward
me.
to speaking with you again about some other cool stuff in the future.
Maybe even the Connie, because there's a custom Connie as well.
That's right.
They changed it. We changed it. It's good though.
But anyway, guys, tune in for that one next time. So until then, I'm Captain Foley.
I'm Commander Coggins.
And I'm Josh Irwin, Commodore Austin from Avalon Universe.
And we'll see you guys later.
Bye, guys.